Hey everybody, I'm really excited. I'm trying this out this week so that I can have a more intimate relationship with you. I would like to welcome each of you, of course, as you're coming in and watching me live today with Manifestation Mondays with Marcy. Now, we have been having the most incredible discussion, haven't we? Every week we are diving deeper and deeper into this subject. And one thing that I'm really starting to recognize is that the more that I talk about this, the deeper my realizations are. And I can actually see this as an endless conversation, because everything that we are talking about, of course, are things that we're already hardwired to express. Manifestation is really an expression of the divine, the divinity that is within us, which is, of course, the creative energy. It's source energy itself. And so, as we are talking and discussing these things in our other live workshops, what happens is that the areas where we are hardwired, in other words, we already have all of these processes wired within to make certain that all of our systems are working together to be this full expression of creation. We are, you might say, uncovering many of the synapses, many of the areas where the wires come together to create the systems and to allow the systems to all work together. So today we're talking about letting go of guilt. Now, guilt, why? Well, because the one thing that I've come to really understand is that the energy of guilt is such a dense energy that unless we begin to really release that, we will not be able to accept ourselves as this divine being. Well, what does that mean? It means that we will not be able to access the parts of us that are wired up in that system to be the creative force. Now, I know that a lot of times we go into some very deep levels here, and if it seems a little bit obscure to you, I want you to take some notes, all right? Ask yourself these questions, and then next week, when I have my live workshop, I want you to come with all of your questions. So today, again, we are talking about why it's important that we start to let go of the guilt so that we can heart shift into self-acceptance. What that is doing is it's opening up the pathways for direct manifestation. I'm wondering how many of you here have ever experienced near instantaneous or instantaneous manifestation. If you have your hand up or are sort of searching in your mind, you might be looking for something very grandiose, right? So you might be saying, oh, I asked for a new car and it never happened. Or it was months or years, or I asked for a new house and I never got it. And right away, you might notice that your mind is taking you to places where that didn't work. So what I want to do is I want to sort of bring your attention back to all of the little instances, the little parts of manifestation that happen instantaneously that you may not have recognized. And then we're going to look at how guilt actually prevented you from being able to do that. But what I want you to do is to start to reorient yourself now so that you start to look for those little pieces of evidence that indeed you have experienced instantaneous manifestation. How does it happen? Well, let me ask, have any of you ever thought of someone, for instance, and the next moment the phone rings and there that person is? Or you were thinking of someone and the next thing you gather up your mail and you see that there's a card or some sort of correspondence? How about you get out of bed in the morning and you're really kind of out of sorts and you feel like already, you know, there's some anger or, unhappiness that's brewing inside. And rather than waking up and feeling great or grateful, you get out of bed and you're already like having difficulty putting one foot in front of the other. And you go into the bathroom and all of a sudden everything you pick up falls into the sink or on the floor. Or you go to plug in your hair blower and there's a spark. Or you go to get the clothes that you thought that you were going to wear that day, and rather than choosing something that you thought about when you were feeling great, you find that you're gravitating towards another area of your closet where those clothes don't really make you feel good. That's instantaneous manifestation. In other words, what you're experiencing there is the extension of that dense energy, and it is being extended through your energy field, and you are creating an extension through that frequency. In other words, you start to see the whole domino effect. And the domino effect is something that's very real. So let's take a look. How does this relate to guilt? Why is it so important that we recognize that guilt, from my perspective, is actually one of the most powerful energies that can prevent us from manifesting? So let's just take a look so that we can differentiate the frequencies. Right away, you know that if it's a dense energy, there's very little light going through it. And I don't know about you, but I want to experience manifestation in the speed of light. Bam, bam, bam. So we need light, okay, to come through the manifestation, to be extended through us. Well, if you are able to tune into guilt, immediately you will feel that it's dense. It makes you feel heavy. It also has a tendency to produce confusion, fog. And underneath all of that, there's also a distrust, both of the universe, of source, and of yourself. And so whatever guilt is associated with, I want you to know that it almost doesn't matter what the subject matter is. I want you to know that the ego, the human aspect of you that is fear-oriented, is actually using guilt as a way to shield you from remembering who you really are. That you are this divine being, that you are this magnificent creator, that nothing, and I mean nothing, can stop you except yourself. So the other thing about guilt is that it's a very corrosive energy. It actually erodes the lines of communication between your heart, right, your true self, your higher self, and your conscious mind. So you can't receive those messages that are meant to both guide you, support you, and encourage you, inspire you. And so that relationship, just like any other relationship that's not being fed, it starts to erode. And what happens is, in that erosion, you forget even more and more and more who you are. This can be catastrophic. But I think particularly now, during this time, when we must be building this relationship so that we can receive all of the messages, so that we can get all of the guidance, and be able to extend even more light, more love through us, it is essential that you start to just identify when guilt gets in the way. I'm going to say that when you identify it, if you can shift that energy, and you know that I'm talking about a heart shift, which is what we'll talk about next week during the live workshop. When you can shift the frequency of that energy, you are actually healing both your past and your future by, in that moment, simply shifting the vibrational frequency. And again, like I said, I'm going to teach you this on Monday. We're going to start to dive into heart shifting so that it becomes so natural, so rote, that you immediately go into that process whenever you are aware of what's happening that is separating you from your true self. So we have this opportunity then, don't we? This opportunity to recognize, and again, this is something we just have to accept, that this energy that is separating us from our true selves is also an invitation for us. It doesn't mean that whatever we're feeling guilty about is true, or that we deserve to feel guilty. In fact, there's no messaging attached to that whatsoever, except for the message that the ego wants you to believe. Oh, you deserve to be guilty. I know who you really are. And of course, it will give you a whole long list of all the horrendous parts of you, none of which are true, by the way. But this invitation is so precious because what it is actually doing is inviting you to remember. And so much of what we do in this inner work is there to help us to uncover who we really are, which is why you hear me talking about self-acceptance all the time. And I don't mean self-acceptance as I just have to accept myself as an ass, or I have to accept myself as a dunce, or I have to accept myself that I'm just not enough. No, quite the opposite. It is us to accept ourselves as these divine creators that we are. There is nothing else. There's nothing outside of that that's true about us. And so we must deliberately, with the utmost commitment, go through this process of identifying the things that stand in our way, learn how to heart shift, learn how to shift the frequency, take it into a frequency where there's greater light, so that what you manifest then, of course, is an expression of that light. And so everything that we are talking about every single week is about action. And this is inspired action. It's when you are consciously choosing, you're utilizing the free will that has been gifted to you here on this earth plane to make the choice to realign your relationship with yourself, with the God within you, and to more and more and more let go of the you that the ego would have you believe is you. And again, just looking at this from my perspective, it's the most incredible map for healing we could ask for, because it always presents us with this invitation. Will you have a different look? Will you turn this inside out, upside down? Will you just look at it until you find the invitation in it? Oh my God, can you imagine how powerful we can be if we just learn to do that? So we're talking action, inspired action. We are talking about developing more trust for ourselves, right? It's part of the self-acceptance. We are talking about accepting truth rather than falsehood. We are talking about understanding that we already have everything within us that we need in order to be successful in this, and that we are the gift. We are the gift. We are the gift that has been created for this, has been created for the world, and that the world needs right now. And so in order to achieve this, we stay in the now. And everything outside of that dissolves. And we become at one with the God within. And there, all those other gifts that you're looking for, other than you, will be right there for you. It's where the peace beyond all understanding is. It's where the memory is of your truth. It's where everything is that your heart is yearning for. And of course, all the keys to bring into physical manifestation all that you want to experience through it. So I'd like you to just take a deep breath in for a moment. Perhaps close your eyes. I just want to give you an affirmation for this week to maintain this energy, this high vibration of love. It's so essential for our well-being. So take a deep breath in, and as you do, breathe these words in. I experience peace through letting go of all dense energies in every form. And as I let go, I begin to learn how to truly be me. The true self with a capital S that has come here to be the gift that the world awaits. Yes, it's all in me. And now breathe that out into the world. Your gift. Once again, your gift. And so I'm going to leave that with you. I'll see you back here again next week. Next week, remember, it will require a registration, and we will be live, and you will be able to, of course, ask me any questions. Bring your thoughts, bring your troubles, whatever is going on for you. and we will look at it through the eyes of love, self-love, the true you. Okay. Mwah. So much love to you, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. And thank you so much for being here with me. I loved having you live right along with me.